Hey everybody, this is Dr. Devin coming to you live with another Weiss Clinic Minute. In today's video, I want to talk with you all about the third major milestone that your kiddo should be hitting. Okay, so this milestone, you might think of it as crawling. I like to think of it as extensor thrust, right? So if your baby is able to roll front to back, back to front, then they're able to now get into a seated position. So when they're in a seated position and they're able to stabilize themselves, their legs are seated or positioned underneath them. And what their legs do is that allows them to push off and then develop the strength in their quadriceps and in their glutes. Because as they push off, that's going to then propel them forward. Okay? Now, what we want to be doing is we want to be strengthening this extensor thrust milestone. So what I like to have parents do at 6 months is put their baby on the floor on their back and use their thumb pads and push into the baby's heels and rock back and forth, okay? Because over time, as you do this through the activity, the child will then start to resist you and push back. And that's going to help to develop the extensor thrust milestone, which is their quadriceps and their glutes, okay? Now, the extensor thrust will then develop into crawling, okay? Now, we know that we need to have that pushback, which then propels us forward. And what we're looking for is the child to move their legs front to back and back to front, okay? Now we want to have it performed in that manner because as the child develops into their toddler crawl, that will then integrate into their toddler gait. So it all starts right now at about 6 months. So what we'd like to see is the extensor thrust milestone coming online at about 6 months. So let's say that between 6 and 8 months, we want to see a transition from being in a seated position to now start crawling. Okay? And about this time, parents, they might notice that their child sits in a tripod position. Many parents, they use devices like a Bumbo or another foam container to prop their child up. And there's many pros and cons to that, but what we want to see is the child sit with their legs underneath them so that they can start developing that extensor thrust milestone. All right. So if you notice your child sits in a tripod position with their legs straight out in front of them, or if they're not getting on their hands and knees to crawl, or if they're crawling improperly, a crab walk, a butt scooter, an army crawl, or a bear walk, right? These are all signs that the quadricep and glute are weak, or they might have low core tone. So what we need to do is we need to start developing the extensor thrust. So like I said, putting the thumb pad into the heel and rocking them back and forth will allow for the child to start developing that extension into their legs and into their glutes as well, okay? But we need to be very, very patient with this too, because as we go through this, trying and working through these activities and these strategies, we need to be patient because your child might just sit there and then rock back and forth, and it takes time. But what we want to see is progress being hit. And once they are showing extensor thrust progress, what I like to tell parents to do then is to use, if they have stairs, okay? So I like to say at about 6 months to place your child on the stairs. And to many of us, when we are on stairs, what we do is we press down and we extend to go up. Okay, so if we place our 6-month-old on stairs, one, they're going to hold their head up, they'll then weight bear, and then they'll start to develop their glutes, their quads, and their lower extremity muscle tone. Okay, kids love to climb, we all know that, but obviously they won't be able to go down, but stairs make a really great confined environment for us to work in. Okay, now, what we want to see is we want to see the milestones progress in this manner of holding our head well, performing a pull to sit well, rolling front to back, back to front, and then seeing extensor thrust. And if your kiddo is meeting these milestones with regularity, then they're doing just fine and they're well on their way to proper development. okay? And then hitting the next milestone, which I'll cover in my next video of the Weiss Clinic Minutes. So if y'all have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments below. I hope this information was valuable and resonated with you all that have littles. And I look forward to talking with you all in my next video. So, love y'all.